What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the United States in 1921 should be a reckoning for everybody, especially in hate. This is what I refer as group corruption or even racial corruption, whereby a certain group do everything possible to bring another one's down. What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma is a white mob literally burned down a district which was very prosperous from Brack. It had hotels, banks, lawyers, it had doctors. They were very prosperous after Civil War. So the Bracks, after Civil War, were able to accumulate and build their own I would say, part of the city, which they had everything due to rules in America they used to call Jim Crow. So they built their own society and they're very prosperous. But white mob were so jealous about that Brack growth, and they burned the whole town down. They burned it down. They burned it to the ground. They killed hundreds of people. They lynched everybody, and literally they destroyed that whole town. In today's value, whatever they lost would go into billions of dollars. But out of hate, groups world over for this kind of hate, whereby they want to bring others down, regardless of whatever it might reflect, like what happened in Tulsa, which is a race massacre, or even like here at home, which is a tribal massacre. It happens all the time, whereby one group of people, for whatever reason, want to bring the other group down because they hate them. I think some of this kind of history is supposed to be told to everybody so that we can defeat hate. We cannot let hate defeat it and battle it, because we don't need it. Because we know everybody in this world is created with these unique capabilities, and it's supposed to give you an opportunity to rise to all the levels of the society. Watch out this video and you see what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is American southern state. In 1921, it's about 100 years, so they are commemorating 100 years. You should watch and see the kind of hate and what hate can bring. Watch.
And had published an account on May 31st, 1921, that essentially accused this black teenager, Dick Rowland, of rape. He worked as a shoeshine boy at a building in downtown Tulsa. The paper, in red-hot terms, essentially accused him of sexually assaulting a white teenage girl who worked as an elevator operator at the building where he worked. And teenage Dick Rowland was arrested that day, and after he was arrested, a mob, apparently a large mob of white Tulsa residents, started gathering at the courthouse, demanding basically to get their hands on him. And Tulsa was in a neighborhood called Greenwood, which was a segregated black neighborhood, but it was also a flourishing neighborhood. A bustling part of town in its own right. It had Greenwood had a hospital and schools and churches and hotels and bars and restaurants and jewelry stores and theaters, at least 2 different black-run newspapers, a solid black professional class, a solid black economy in that neighborhood. Greenwood also had a considerable number of African-American men, some of whom were World War I veterans, who were not only concerned that young Dick Rowland was going to be lynched that day at Tulsa's courthouse, but grew and grew at the courthouse. And the sheriff tried to hold the white angry mob at bay. A contingent of armed black men from Greenwood came to the courthouse too, to supplement the protection basically for young Dick Rowland while he was in a jail cell inside and that growing mob outside was baying for his blood. And there's much more to be said about what happened then in the ensuing 18 hours. As we come up to the 100-year anniversary of that conflagration, which is next month, May 31st, you will hear much more about what happened on May 31st and into June 1st, 1921. But the long and the short of it is that there was a firefight at the courthouse, a gun battle. The white population of Tulsa and ultimately surrounding areas as well, they decided that this was the sign they had been waiting for, I guess, of some kind of black insurrection in Greenwood, which they took as cause for both all-out hysteria and all-out war White mobs, literally thousands of white people of the white mob, they gave out guns and ammunition to white men and told them to go get them in the Greenwood neighborhood. And in the Greenwood neighborhood, the hospital burned to the ground, and the school burned to the ground, and the library and the churches and the hotels and the stores and both the newspapers. The white mob burned more than 1,200 private homes. More than 1,200. They looted hundreds more that didn't burn. Local law enforcement wholesale rounded up black people, thousands of black people off the streets and out of whatever homes and buildings remained, and locked them up, thousands of them, at the local fairgrounds. Left thousands of black Tulsans interned basically at the local fairgrounds for days. And the Franklin manuscript described turpentine firebombs being dropped on major buildings in Greenwood from above, from small planes, privately operated planes that were brought in to drop bombs on the black neighborhood. What he described was basically improvised airstrikes from private aircraft, along with the mobs in the streets. He also described machine gun fire turned loose against the black civilians in Greenwood in the streets. Again, that manuscript was only discovered 6 years ago. Our understanding of what happened 100 years ago is still growing as we close in on this 100-year centennial since it happened. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.